Well, I want to start my remarks by complimenting the superintendent on his perseverance and stamina. Glad to see he lost his blazer.
I could only interrupt you and suggest that if you're ever interested in attending a school district board meeting, that you may find you're last on the agenda, but I won't go there.
I'll expect the same consideration that Superintendent Kleinert gave me. Depends if you want a bowl of oatmeal or a bacon and eggs for breakfast. At any rate, I'm happy to be before you tonight on a project that has been circulating around the city, school district, and the community for many years. I won't go too much into the history of the project except to say that it came to a head earlier this year when the Moscow School District and the city came together collaboratively and determined that it was time to move ahead with some sort of recreational field development at the Joseph Street property currently owned by the school district. At that time, the school district was moving ahead with a bond issue for some school improvements, some structural improvements, repairs, that sort of thing. And the city and the school district came to an agreement. The school district indicated that should the city of Moscow agree to put up one half, up to $1.5 million of an estimated $3 million improvement to the Joseph Street Fields property, that the school district in their bond that was passed by the voters on May 20th, they would set aside up to $1.5 million of that bond for co-development of the properties as well. There was a memorandum of understanding which was included in your packets that the council voted on April 1st, 2013, and that was accepted by the school district as well. As I indicated, the bond passed on May 20th. We, as soon as the smoke cleared from that, the school district got through their documentation that they needed to formalize their bond. We began to meet to put together a group to decide how we were going to move ahead in this process. So at that time, we had a group that got together. The school district and the city proposed a reasonable sized group that could look at this issue. The members of that group at this point are Moscow School District trustee, being staffed by Jim Frenzel, City Council member Walter Steed, former Moscow School District Superintendent and consultant Dale Kleinert, who was there to assist us in the transition, current Moscow School District Superintendent Greg Bailey, myself, Moscow School District Business Manager Deb Adair, and Parks and Rec Director Dwight Curtis. That group is being supported by the City Attorney Rod Hall, as well as by School District Attorney Ron Landeck and Danelle Forsyth. Our first meeting occurred in July, on July 10th, and I put some materials in your packets that talked about points that would need to be discussed, issues that had been voiced at City Council as well as the school district regarding how this project would move ahead. There's a lot of community support for the project, as the council knows. Greg Papineau, leading that charge, attended many meetings, essentially encouraged the district and the city council to move ahead with the project. The group that I just mentioned was dubbed the Authorized Representative Committee, or ARC for short. The purpose of the group was to frame the issues and come together for an agreement that would designate the responsibilities of the two parties in moving this ahead. So what you have before you is a draft agreement. I would go through the salient parts of that, at least the parts that I feel are the most important. Suffice it to say that it depends a lot on the collaboration and cooperation of the parties, so I would refer the council to Article 1 of the agreement that essentially lays out what the two parties are going to do. And as you'll see, number one on both the district and the city is to cooperate with each other in the development of the fields and the duties laid out in the agreement. As one of the issues that came up was who was going to essentially contract for the things that were going to be done. Who was going to be responsible? Since it was a school district property, the city and the school district agreed, at least through the ARC group, that since the school district owned the property, that they should be the contracting entity to contract with any contractors, architects, those sorts of folks, contract managers or project managers, and the city's responsibilities should be in support and should be responsible for one half of the cost of those services, up to, of course, the $1.5 million. The agreement not only talks about the design, it also talks about the construction, and it talks about the maintenance of the fields. There are things throughout this agreement that were also contained in the memorandum of understanding. One of the conditions that is called out in the agreement, and it is a 30-year agreement, which was what the council and the school district agreed to in the memorandum of understanding. One of the things in the the play fields, you'll also note in the recitals of the contract are that the school district is retaining a footprint for an educational facility or a school district facility to be generally located in the southwest corner of the property. Exhibits A and B are not part of this agreement as of yet. They were not included as part of your packet, and I have yet to sit down with engineering and have those drawn up. I would note at this time that as we move through this agreement, the idea, we'll go through the timeline in a few minutes, it is an aggressive timeline. And the reason that it is before you today, it came before Public Works last week, or Administrative Committee, and we're hoping for council action on it tonight. If the council chooses to act on it, it will then be presented by Superintendent Bailey to the Moscow School District on their regular meeting on the 27th of September. So again, trying to get the ball rolling on this. August, I'm sorry. Moving through the contract or the proposed agreement, Article 3 or Article 2 talks about the project itself. What plans to be done on the project, the cost sharing on the project, which of course is 1/2 each, development of a site plan, construction of improvements. There are timelines on this as well. The city will be responsible for the administration and maintenance of the ball fields. The two parties jointly will be responsible for the design and construction of the project, and we have a process set up for that as well. This will be done pursuant to agreement. The ARC group will act as the management team, if you will, for this. Any, I guess, monumental, if you will, or anything that binds the city or the school district outside of this agreement, in other words, final design itself or agreement for selection of a contractor and architect, would come back to the council, who would then approve it, send it on to the school district for their approval. Article 3 is the compliance with the Joint Exercise of Powers Act. That is something that is designated by Idaho Code. This agreement does meet, we believe, the requisites of the Joint Exercise of Power Act. All it says is that the council and the school district board of trustees intend to cooperate on this, intend to jointly develop the property, intend to jointly manage the property. Now, it will be managed through a delegation of authority to the city, but we are not setting up a separate entity to manage it, so it should not be any more onerous than a regular agreement. So the effect of it is just to comply with Idaho law, but it does not put any other restrictions on the agreement. Article 4 is where a lot of the meat and potatoes of this agreement reside. If you look at it, it talks about what the ARC's responsibilities are, and the Authorized Representative Committee is designed to be the liaison between the City Council and the Board of Trustees. So this group will do the vetting, this group will assist the school district in preparing RFQs for architectural services, in preparing bids to go out, so on and so forth. The city will provide technical assistance to the school district. As these are developed, they will come to the ARC for vetting and approval. Once they get past the ARC group, then they come to the city council and to the school district for approval. So again, you're not delegating your authority to approve these processes prior to getting final approval. And of course, the school district as a contracting entity, the city's participation in this is to approve them, and the school district agrees that if those are approved, that they will approve them as well if they meet their requirements. So the first part of it is, it talks about the administration for the project that is provided by the ARC. Paragraph A3 talks about the selection process for design professionals and construction managers. If you look at that, again, the timeline that I will tell you what our target is at this point is we are intending that if the council approves this tonight, if it goes to the school district on August 27th, Bill Belknap will be working with Deb Adair, the business manager from the school district, in preparing an RFQ. That RFQ will go out almost immediately. We'll have a fairly succinct or short time frame for response in order to get design professionals to put together proposals which can then be vetted out, and hopefully toward mid to late September, a selection process can be put in place for selection by the council and the school district prior to October 1st or thereabouts. Again, very aggressive time frame. We'll try to stick to that as much as we can, knowing that there will be inevitable delays. But the time frame is driven by the construction season of 2015. Okay, once that group, or 14.
No,
Sorry, for use hopefully at some point in 2015. But
Right.
construction will occur, at least according to this agreement, will try to be completed by October 1st of 2014. I'm sorry. Please keep me honest on the
so the
dates.
15
Thank you.
season is,
Because we're talking a period of 3 years, I might get mixed up. Once this design professional is identified, then we will appoint a design planning team. That design planning team is intended to be the voice of the community, to look at what has been done, stakeholders, to bring them forward, assist the architect in reviewing the work that has already been done on a couple of occasions, work that was done by the Facilities Planning Committee at the school district, by various studies that have been done, and hopefully they will bring a proposal again to the ARC and then on to City Council and to the school district. Again, this is a very aggressive time frame, but no later than early December. That group hopefully then, as they bring that prospective design, that draft design to the city and to the school district, then if approved, the concept design, then it would be given back to the architects, who would then be charged with putting a site plan together. That site plan, we hope, would be ready by late January, early February, at which point we would put together bid documents. Those bid documents would be prepared, would be issued, and the project hopefully would go out to bid in very early spring, late winter, February of 2014, very early spring of 2014. The idea is to get responses, move the project ahead, and hopefully we would set up a process for selecting a contractor as well.